Yeah, I think there are hot spots. I think there are cryptid hot spots, but being there when the phenomena occurs, that's the big trick. I think you really have to do it long term if you want to experience stuff. But it's really not up to us, the phenomena, whatever it is, and I say that as a thing for all these, But like I said, we should judge these individually. But it does its own thing, so it'll be completely random most of the time. Just being at the right place at the right time. You may see a Bigfoot out in your backyard tonight. It's sort of up to them in a lot of ways.
Now, I'm going to jump in. Now, one thing, you got to be careful when you go out in the woods. Now, James, you want to tell him your little story when you were younger and naive, the dumb thing you did out in the woods? You know what I'm talking about, what you said on my show.
It was back in '88. It was on the East Coast. It was in Rhode Island, actually, and I used to go. I had a guy who lived there, and he would, he knew all the local hot places that was haunted and things to do that nobody knew. So he'd give me places. So I went. It was Halloween night. I think it was 1988, around 11:30. So I go to our park. I follow the directions, and I'm going up this hill, and I can see, how when somebody's got a fire or something over the hill, you can see like there's light. And then I could start hearing noises, sound like chanting and stuff. So I get down in my stealth mode, and I peek up over this log, and probably 50 yards away, there's 12 or 13 of them in robes circling a fire, and there's a goat chained up to a table, and there's a big old machete there, and I'm like, okay, this is, whoa, I don't know what I'm coming up upon, but I'm not going to crash this barbecue at 11:30 at night in the middle of nowhere, so I slowly backed out of there. But to come to find out, in that time frame, there was cults that was abducting, prostitutes and homeless people, and they were killing them. And then on top of that, only about 4 years later, I found out that property was where the conjuring stuff came from. Perones lived there on that land. It was just bad land, and people were still practicing witchcraft and stuff, and I almost crashed their barbecue, so to speak, and that was, believe me, I would have been in bad shape. That would have been a bad scene out of a B movie if they would have heard or caught me, for sure.
Well, maybe they wouldn't have sacrificed the goat.
Exactly, yeah, right.
You know what I'm getting at, James. That's what I tell people all the time. Make sure you're packing something, okay, if you're going out in the woods, number one. Tell people where you're going, number two. If you're going, I'm not talking about number two, going to the bathroom. I'm talking telling people, number two, tell people where you're at. And if you decide to go like ghost hunting, right, in old buildings and stuff, again, make sure people know where you're at. Don't go in without asking permission. Because like me and you talked one time, James, when you called, you could go into an old building and fall through, and nobody's going to know you fell through, and you could die very easily.
Yep, and that's almost happened to me, too, before.
You do. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, I had a thought in my mind. You do have to be careful out there. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Poplick monster. Just outside of Louisville, a goat man sort of demon that haunted this 100-foot tall, train trestle bridge there. I've been there and I photographed the place. It has taken a number of lives. People trying to find this cryptid, going up on the train trestle and then not realizing it still works. There's still trains that go across there, and there's been several tragedies, and I think there was a death as recently as a couple of weeks ago from an explorer, urban legend trip or whatever, exploring these things. So absolutely, people do need to be safe. They do need to, and that's wherever you're traveling. Have an itinerary. At least have it in your phone. Put it in your notes. Pin your location every once in a while on Facebook, or on Google or whatever. Let people know where you're at, because it can be dangerous out there, and there are weird things going on out there. There may be areas where, there's people doing some weird stuff, and if you're out in the rural areas, you do have to be careful, or, even if there's a Bigfoot out there, you probably want to protect yourself. You definitely want to know where people, know people where you're at. I'm actually going to be speaking at the Van Meter Visitor, the monster conference up there in Iowa in September, and sort of a get together of all us who do strange travel type stuff. And I'm going to be doing a presentation on tips for doing this sort of travel, how to research, how to map out your itinerary, how to document, how to be safe, what to do with with what you find or whatever, and sort of get more people out there doing the sort of traveling, to explore these mysteries. And I definitely do think that safety is one of the biggest things, because some of these places are abandoned buildings out in the middle of nowhere, and some places are quite unsafe.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, okay, thank you. Hey, you guys have a great night.
Thank you.
And be careful out in the woods. And Gary, you might want to check into some Bigfoot rock throwing insurance.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? It's an experience that when you go through it, you'll never forget the rest of your life. I can say that. James, have a good one, and go eat a bowl of cornflakes on me.
I will. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
I don't know. So that's just it. It's so many places you can go that is this, it's very important to let people know where you're going, because you could end up dead very easily because of stupidity. You could go out in the woods somewhere, depending where. I used to go a place up where I live, which was an old coal mine back in the 1900s. I think they disbanded the town around 1908. But there was mine shafts that dropped down like 800 feet, and they were all over the place. And people would go up there, to find relics, and then they would never find them again. And probably they fallen into a mine shaft. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, I tell people, you don't necessarily have to travel too far if you want to go to a weird spot. Chances are, the town that you live in, there's an anomalous spot there for you to look at. Every town has a haunted house or a haunted cemetery. That Lover's Lane where, something headless has been seen, or, a strange creature or whatever, and you can stay close to your home to explore. You can go to a couple of towns over. We do it usually when we're on our way to somewhere else, but, it's all about finding these spots and exploring these mysteries and sharing them with people, and hopefully, it'll encourage further investigation, and people will have resources to, maybe, put this stuff down for the history of these subjects, and do more serious studies in places that warrant it.
Yeah, and you got to be really careful too. A couple of years ago, me and my one son, we went up to again see my friend near Pahrump, and we decided we wanted to go to Area 51, and we took this on our motorcycles. We took this like dirt road. Well, evidently we were so involved of, not, dropping the bike. We didn't see the sign where it said keep out, and all this other stuff. And then we seen one of their little vehicles coming at us really fast. And you could, I'll tell you what, we got out of there really fast. But you got to be careful wherever you go. So if you're looking like to go to Area 51, don't do it. Don't go on their property. A guy got killed 6 months ago on Area 51 for crossing over. Don't do things like that. You got to be careful. And if you're into UFOs, there's nothing wrong with getting a pair of infrared binoculars or a monocular. Go out in your backyard. If you live out in an area where it's not light polluted, it's naturally you're going to see things. But like I said, I'm getting people, honestly, Michael, sending me videos that's crazy of what they're saying that are UFOs. I've been, like I said, my other passion in life was photography. And I was one of the very first persons to get a digital SLR camera from Nikon years ago to kind of play around with it before they even marketed it. I was one of the I was one of the, people when Photoshop first came out. to be a tester for it. So I know Photoshop real well, and 99% of these pictures I get from people either are dust spots on their sensor, or they're bugs, or, their orbs are reflection from a light or street light, a porch light. And I hate that. I hate telling people, hey, I'm sorry, you really don't have anything. But some of these people are so convinced every time they go outside at night, they got a UFO.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm a semi-public figure, within a lot of these communities, so I get stuff sent to me as well. And I do keep up with, all the latest releases, even from, a lot of the exploitation websites or whatever, because, that's what really is getting put out there. Is a lot of stuff that you find within the paranormal communities, especially on the internet. A lot of that stuff is hoax material. It's CGI, artificial, Photoshop stuff designed to get clicks for money. Whether you can see them on YouTube, you can see them on websites. I think we all know this. There's some interesting stuff out there, and there's some groups that you can go that seriously look at this stuff, and it's a lot of photographic stuff that I will get. It's obviously spider web, or a lens flare, or a reflection, or a bird, or something else misidentified. But it becomes interesting when they ask you your opinion, and then you tell them, and then it's a challenge to their belief system. Where it's not, that green orb is not a lens flare. And you try to explain to them, the science behind it, how it works, and you can even demonstrate it to them, but people are going to believe what they want to believe. And I think, if you're in the persuasion part of it, we need to, persuasion part of trying to get the public to accept the validity and credibility of these phenomena, we all need to knock that stuff down and not work with the people that promote that stuff, because, we're cutting our own throats. We're trying to convince people, and then, you show pieces of footage that's obviously CGI or fake photos. And I think that was something that To the Stars, when they had their first press conference, that they did some of that within that, and it was sort of a misstep, but you can give them a little bit of slack because maybe they were on the learning curve or whatever. But we need to challenge that stuff, because there's a lot of it out there. And everybody talks about the unidentified show as being, putting the subject forward or whatever, but there are more people probably that go into like Third Phase of Moon or Secure Team 10 that will watch that show, and they're getting bad information, they're getting bad hoax material. So I think one thing that all of us in the community need to at least agree on, in all these communities, Ghosts and Bigfoot as well, is that, you need to call out the hoaxers when you can, and if you can demonstrate that something is not valid evidence, then, we should not be wasting our time with it, because, I'm not a skeptic. I'm skeptical, but I'm open-minded skeptic, I'm skeptical because I have to be, because there's a lot of garbage out there, and I want to know. I want to know more than I want to believe.
Hey, our
belief is a religion, so
hey, Michael,
I want to know.
Our time is almost up. I do want to say this. I had a TV personality was going to come on my show back a year ago for the Travel Channel. It was a ghost hunting show, and he actually quit and doing it because he got tired of it. They would go out and film and come back, and the network says, well, what did you get? Well, we didn't get anything. They were ordered to go back to that same location and fake it so they could broadcast it. And he said that went on, and one day he said, I can't do this anymore. And I don't know if he got fired or he quit, But he was going to come on my show, but then because of legal things with the network, he decided, no, he better not. But that tells you, here's a network, the Travel Channel, telling their, people that supply them with these shows, hey, we want to see something, even if you have to